Hello, welcome to another edition of the Front Row Roundtable Show presented by Ralphie's. Thank you very much for being here. It is your half hour of positivity every week. Norm Weimer, Mortgage Marty Ben, Big John Melkowski.
I'm still here. That's not entirely accurate.
I don't think it's in any way accurate.
That makes your mom happy, though.
Hi, Mom. Yes.
It's called irony.
It's
Called something. I don't know.
Yes. So I'm sitting there, we're talking about topics, and John texts today about what, St. Francis College?
Thomas.
St. Thomas. St. Francis, because
Well, yeah.
yes.
Well, here goes the rundown.
Okay. And so they're kicking them out of their conference because they're too successful.
Yes.
Like they've been beating backsides for 5 or 6 years because they got a new coach,
Like
and they've been.
I think it was 116 and 18 in the last however many years.
And it's like the average score is 45-12 or something. I read the whole thing, and I thought, well, John's sending this for several reasons. One that we both agree on. So we're going to kick Central out of the track and football. And then two, as a Michigan fan, this is your movement to get Ohio State kicked out of the Big Ten in football.
Absolutely. Bring Toledo in and, it'll be perfect.
Well, no, under these rules, Toledo will never get kicked out of the back.
Well, but somebody needs to be promoted to replace Ohio State.
But I mean, we can agree that you could illogically, this is like the transfer rule. Because I read it and I was like, John's onto something here. Because this could get weird fast. Because once schools get onto this, we're like.
But that happens a lot in high school, where the talent doesn't match up. I mean, you remember Whitmer in the GLL.
Yeah.
Used to steamroll that.
Well, and Cleveland Glenville, they haven't lost a conference game in like 20 years.
See, they had two options: either politely ask them to go somewhere else, or they could have just blown the entire league up, and then everybody except that team start a new league. So it's like, take your pick.
Well, and they're giving them a couple of years. I mean, they're going to let them stay until 2021 so they can find a new league, I guess.
Right, but that'll help recruiting for those other schools because they can say, look, by the time your junior year rolls around, you have a shot at a championship because we're not going to get annihilated by these, gladiators.
You're Division III, so your chances of being an NFL starter are even slimmer than the MAC.
Yes.
Right, because Paxton Lynch didn't hit big. That's right. Yes.
Who?
Well, Pierre Garcon went to Mount Union, became a starter.
It happens.
There's one.
It happens. Well, it happens.
It
What was Jerry Rice? Was that a D1 school?
That was 1AA at the time.
Which is the size battery it takes. Never mind. That's a whole separate. Oh, come on. You know the joke. It was the old, what size batteries does it take to beat Michigan? When Appalachia State beat them, 1AA? Yes, there you go. But we should agree. I mean, there are several teams locally that should be kicked out of what they're doing because they've spanked people for so long. It's time to, let's move on.
See, it's not the same thing. You were talking about kicking the Warriors out of the NBA and the Patriots out of the NFL. It's not the same.
No,
they
I
have
said the Patriots out of the AFC East. Because I think if you put this to a vote, the AFC East would be 3-1, and the Patriots have got to go. They got to go play somewhere else because everyone's tired of them kicking their keisters every year.
Yeah, but they have equal resources. The problem with this situation was they did not have equal resources.
Right.
The one school was spending a ton more money, and they had more
because
students
Ohio
than
State
anybody
and
else.
Michigan have equal resources to
I wasn't talking
Illinois
about Ohio
and
State
Indiana.
and Michigan.
Well,
I was talking about this Division III school.
No, and D3, I agree. I think in D3, once you've built a program, it becomes so much easier because there's no athletic money to give. So if a kid has to go to a D3 school or wants to go, he's going to pick the team that wins.
Right, so you're saying one booster can sway because they could create a program.
Well, they were spending about $1.1 million a year on football, this D3 school, which vastly outspent the other schools.
Which would pay half a MAC coaching staff.
It's D3.
I was just trying to tie it into things you've talked about.
Can we steer this back on the
I don't know. I'm not ready to get back on board yet. Let's keep it over here in the weeds.
Your favorite sport, golf?
Speaking of being in the weeds.
Can we
So I guess
just
Tiger Woods is not going to win the Grand Slam.
The best part of my weekend was when you had texted Friday night when he didn't make the cut, and I got to forward that to all the, Tiger's back. And all I did was hit forward and say, this is from my co-host, and let it go. And it was so wonderful in a sick, twisted way, because I'm thinking, okay, he had a moment. We're not saying it wasn't cool, or for some people cool, but his back's still iffy, icky. And he hadn't played in a month. And by the way, he was well below average.
I mean, all of these shows are on the YouTube channel, all right. And you can go back and look at what we said. But what we said was, it's a bell curve, and he's at the back end of the bell curve now. It came together for that one tournament, and it might do it one or two more times, but it's not going to be consistent. Those days are long gone. Those are past.
Do 36-year-old DHs sometimes go on a hot streak for 2 or 3 weeks where they can carry a team and get you through a couple rounds of playoffs? Or goalies in hockey suddenly become walls?
There's if you go back and look at this, and if you go to baseballreference.com, you can go to any sport through that. Go look at the game log of Johnny Unitas. Because there was a game, it was like 1970 or 71, and this was long after he was over the hill and done with his career. But it was, they played the New York Jets and Joe Namath. And you can look it up, because both guys had like 500 yards plus passing in the game. And it so sticks out. But for that one day, Johnny Unitas put it back together again. For that one day. Never did it again after that. And Tiger may not either. I mean, he may make some runs and not get there. Or he might, put it together for one weekend. But it's not going to happen every time.
And it's so weird with him, with him specifically, because I know once he won, I think in Vegas you could get 50, they had the odds down to 50-1 for him to win the Grand Slam. And people were actually throwing money on it. And it's like, the guy hasn't won a major in 10 years.
Dumb people were throwing money on that.
But the Babe Ruth story, too. When at the end of his career with Boston Braves, how that one game he hit 3 homers.
Yep.
And then like 2 days later retired. I mean, it does happen. Willie Mays, 73, playoffs, and World Series. He had a really good World Series, knocked in some runs.
Well, I don't know about
couldn't
you guys,
throw.
but
He's in the outfield like throwing an underhand back in.
Right.
Because he couldn't throw. But for that series, he got some key hits. And
I've had 2 or 3 holes where I play under par. And then, the ball goes over there, and reality comes back. But,
So enjoy it. Just don't expect it. See it happen all the time. All right, let's take a time out, and when we come back, I want to dive into this. I want to dive into the Tigers rebuild and the Indians and whether their window might be closed already.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get it when we come back.
He is correct.
For our Roundtable show presented by Ralphie's.
Bring yourself to Ralphie's. Yeah, it's that good. It's that good no matter what your taste. It's that good. Come early, stay late. Burgers and beer. A shot of cheer. Great food and fun. It's that good here. Bring yourself to Ralphie's. Yeah, it's that good.
Mortgage Marty here. It's spring buying season's right around the corner. In fact, now is the best time to get started. Gives us a little lead time. If there's things we need to tweak, we can get on it right away. Remember, those credit inquiries don't affect your score any more than they will if you check later. So one inquiry, whether it's now and then again in the spring, still only counts as one, won't hurt your score. We helped 3 customers this week improve their score by an average of 30 points. So reach out now. Let's get that started. 419-461-0667 or marty.bin, B-I-H-N, at fairwaymc.com.
Powerbomb Wrestling is back in Toledo coming up on Sunday, June the 2nd, St. Clements Hall, 2990 Tremainsville in Toledo. Doors will open at 4:15, bell time at 5. It is June Justice, and you will see the champion Brandon Day defend his title. Also, a no DQ, no count out for the tag team titles. Andy Shane against Man Fulton and more. It's Sunday, June the 2nd, St. Clements Hall in Toledo. we are. Football Roundtable show presented by Ralphie's. Don't forget wing time at Ralphie's. Weekdays from 2 until 5. Get a 10 count of wings, dine-in only, for half price. And why would you want it? Why would you not want to dine in and have somebody wait on you?
I'm not going to answer that question.
Unless you're sticking about it.
I'm not fine.
Unless the wife tells you, you have to be home. You have to be home by 5.
No, that's also not what happens.
I'm not interested enough to know. All right. All right. My home away from home is Ralphie's.
Here's the problem with this segment. I think I'm going to have to agree with you on most of what you're about to say, and that bothers me. And I just want to establish ahead of time, this is not my role on the show.
Yeah, but you don't know what I'm going to say, so.
All right, I'm guessing. Okay, continue on.
See, we can actually do the segment, and then you can react to it.
No,
instead of reacting first and not knowing what it
derail the
is.
train early. It's more fun that way.
Everybody's got to be good at something. All right. Tiger rebuild. Here's my problem. All right, I keep arguing this, and I'm arguing this stuff on Twitter and stuff like that, and I don't know why I do that. It's a waste of
It's a
time.
no-win situation.
Because when you complain that so-and-so should get called up, all right, there's always somebody go, well, you got to trust the process, and you got to understand that they're rebuilding, and I know exactly, exactly. Here's my problem.
You can't fix stupid.
Oh, I mean, trying to watch the current product is just ridiculously awful.
And I know you still do, but I'm telling you.
Well, I do too.
I've taken a timeout. I'm done. There are better things. I would rather cut the grass with scissors than watch the current
I do
product.
too, and I understand then, starting the clock and all that on their contracts and all that crap. But at the end of the day, you don't want to. I think it's better to push a player than it is to hold him back. Because we've said this before, the more players have their career years at age 27 than anything else. All right, and if you got guys that aren't coming up till they're like 25, 26. You're really racing the clock. And in the case
a couple good years, and then by the way, they won a contract, and then you got problems.
In the case of Casey Mize, all right, who's in AA, was their number 1 pick last year. He came out of college. He's sitting in AA, and already had a no-hitter. He had a no-hitter his first outing in AA. But his overall ERA is around 1. I mean, it's ridiculously above the talent level. He has nothing left to learn sitting there in AA. Doesn't have anything left to learn.
But he also gave up 4 runs a couple times to go out.
Okay, so
That's going to happen.
So look, I want to be the
nothing left to
non-baseball
learn.
guy in the room. These are not NFL quarterbacks who have horrible offensive lines and no weapons, who are standing back there with rabbit ears getting annihilated. I mean,
No, what I want
they
them
either
to
are
do.
going to be relatively successful or not, and you can tweak some of the things. But I mean, no one gets blasted snap after snap in baseball. I'm sorry, it just.
I don't want to bring him up and put him in the rotation. I want them to bring him up and put him in the bullpen and pitch long relief. You got 4 of your 5 starters that are out, right? And you got guys that are pitching, their starts are 2-3 innings before they're getting blown out. That's where he needs to be. He needs to be in the bullpen pitching long relief. There's going to be plenty of opportunities to pitch long relief on this team, for heaven's sakes. And if you go back, you look at Jack Morris. Jack Morris originally came up in '77 when Fidrich first came down with a shoulder problem. All right, and he started. But in '78, the following year, he was up all year, but he pitched long relief out of the pen. '79 came along, won 17 games. Guys like him and Jimmy Key did the same thing, and the Orioles used to do that all the time. They bring up the kid pitcher, let him pitch long relief. Teams don't do that anymore, and I don't know why they don't do that anymore. Especially when you're running
because
3, 4, 5,
it's
6.
The most annoying. When we need
You're running 3, 4, 5, 6 relievers in a game. So I don't understand why you wouldn't take a kid, bring him up, let him pitch long relief. There's going to be no pressure on him whatsoever.
Because then you don't get as many hot dog runs, goofy things between innings while we're waiting for the next reliever to get warm. Please don't get me started. Because I can't watch what goes on because it's like you said, so it's the next inning and some other guy's got to come out who I've never heard of, who I have no idea whether he'll ever be successful. But I know there's 7 minutes of my life watching him throw warm-up pitches has been exhausted.
I don't mind like a Willie Castillo or Willie Castro who's sitting at Toledo, playing really well at shortstop. But you have major league players in the middle of the diamond. You know, Harrison, Beckham, Mercer, you know, those guys are at least major league players.
Right.
In the Tigers bullpen, you got guys that are not major league players. All right.
Right, because half of them have been Mudhens already this year.
You got Jacoby Jones in center field,
will
who's
be
not a
again.
major league player. You know, Matuk wasn't a major league player either. Watching, you know, Jones's defense hasn't been nearly as good this year, and that was the only thing he could hang his hat on. So, you know, watching that is just, to send guys out there that are not even major league players.
Well, and how would you feel if you're the rest of that roster and you're like, so I'm going to hand the ball to that guy?
The only,
And then I'm supposed to come out here tomorrow with a good attitude? I mean,
but the only guy on that whole team that has that kind of gravitas is Cabrera. I mean, nobody else on that team really has that.
right, he has to wake up
That
every
is.
day and say, I wish my contract wasn't as big and I could get traded. I wish my contract wasn't.
Well, he's been known to be out there clowning around sometimes too, so I don't know how seriously he takes it all the time either.
Well, but what choice do you have?
Well, you don't.
Given the current situation, I mean, I'd be the jokester. I'd be like, well, I'm making an awful lot of
yeah,
money.
I mean,
You don't, but you got to lead by example. I mean, you're rolling your eyes again.
Well, but again, that's overrated when you have no hope.
You know darn well as a player you would try to lead by example.
In that situation, no, I'd be like,
In
look, this
any
is a
situation.
crap show. I almost said the other word, and I shouldn't do that. But like, this is, I mean, it's awful.
I mean, if you're making $30 million a year, I think you could suck it up and, you know, lead by example.
If I was making $30 million a year, I wouldn't have cared a long time ago. I think you're being way too nice about what $30 million does to people.
No, because the great players want to win.
See, I think you're being unfair. I think he wants to win and knows there's no chance. And there's a difference between knowing there's no chance and being competitive in a situation where you can make a marginal difference.
No, but he can tutor the younger players to get them to where they need to be when it comes time to start contending again.
Right, but if you watch a guy who has no, I mean, we're saying.
If you were a coach, would you put up with somebody not running out ground balls? Come on, you know you wouldn't.
No, even the Mets bench Robinson Cano for doing it, and the Mets.
I would have an aneurysm, but yes, you're right. Never mind. God, Norm's right 3 times in one segment. It hurts my head.
All right, I don't know how much time we have, but as we're taping this, the Indians are 6.5 out.
And the Twins are rolling. I mean, the Twins are the best team, have the best record at the time.
Now there's 4 things Norm's been right
Well,
about
what
in the
did
same
we
segment.
agree on? We agreed on the Indians were still the favorite, but watch out for the Twins.
Yep.
We didn't agree. You said it. I disagreed. I was wrong. You were right. You're smart. I'm stupid. And by the way, the Indians' window is now closed. The door is slammed shut.
It's not, but they're teetering. They're starting to teeter right now.
It's dismantle time. It's trade real players for assets going forward and start over.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see because Kluber won't be healthy by the time the trade deadline comes up. So
And I'd still trade for him.
that part's going to be interesting to watch because there may be some pieces, but they can't score any runs. Yeah. They're almost as bad as the Tigers are offensively. All right, let's take another timeout. We'll come back. We got we got a new coach up in Ann Arbor. We'll talk about that and more when we come back. It's a Roundtable show presented by Ralphie's.
Bring yourself to Ralphie's. Yeah, it's that good. It's that good no matter what your taste. It's that good. Come early, stay late. Burgers and beer. A shot of cheer. Great food and fun. It's that good here. Bring yourself to Ralphie's. Yeah, it's that good.
Mortgage Marty here. It's spring buying season's right around the corner. In fact, now is the best time to get started. Gives us a little lead time. If there's things we need to tweak, we can get on it right away. Remember, those credit inquiries don't affect your score any more than they will if you check later. So one inquiry, whether it's now and then again in the spring, still only counts as one, won't hurt your score. We helped 3 customers this week improve their score by an average of 30 points. So reach out now. Let's get that started. 419-461-0667 or marty.bin, B-I-H-N, at fairwaymc.com.
Powerbomb Wrestling is back in Toledo coming up on Sunday, June the 2nd, St. Clements Hall, 2990 Tremainsville in Toledo. Doors will open at 4:15, bell time at 5. It is June Justice, and you will see the champion Brandon Day defend his title. Also, a no DQ, no count out for the tag team titles. Andy Shane against Man Fulton and more. It's Sunday, June the 2nd, St. Clements Hall in Toledo. And back we are from our Roundtable show presented by Ralphie's, as we're taking a half hour to torture Marty Ben this week.
No! I was just wondering whether, with the hiring in Ann Arbor for the new basketball coach, whether Ed Martin was coming back to help with recruiting. That was my leading question for the night.
Oh, Marty.Ben.
Oh, come on. It's funny. It's sort of fair. It's a little history.
Okay, I'll fess up. During the break, I said at least they won't be screaming timeout at him when he comes out. As we tape this, it looks like Juwan Howard's going to become the next basketball coach of the Michigan Wolverines. And you being the resident Michigan fan, are you happy or unhappy?
I think it's a great hire. I mean, he has a lot of NBA experience. He has a lot of people in the NBA who trust him. He does not have a lot of college experience, but he walks onto campus and he'll own the campus. I mean, because of who he is, having played in the NBA, he played with LeBron. I think he's going to be able to walk into campus and recruit heavily, especially in Chicago, which they haven't done for a while. So I think it's a great hire. I think he was their number one from the beginning. And all this talk about Ed Cooley at Providence and all that.
It'll be interesting to see who
I'm angry they hired him. And I'm only angry because, I'm not a Michigan fan. So, it is a great – talk about a smart guy with all the connections and all the recruiting charisma you could need and the connect. It's a genius move. And I didn't think this was possible when Beeline left. It might be an upgrade in terms of the ability to recruit.
I don't think you can say that.
Well, I said might. I'm saying, but most of those other ones you were thinking, well, I hope it's as good as just left. And there's a possibility if you can up the, because I'm not sure Beeline had A+ level talent that often.
The only way you could, let's face it, the only way you could be better than Beeline is to win a national championship. Because he got to the Final Four. So,
right.
Yeah, Beeline never had the 5-star, the guy that, he never out-recruited Duke or Kentucky for a guy. He took the lower-level guy, coached him up, and made a team out of him.
But I think it's possible now that some of those recruits are going to give a different look.
But you know what comes with the 5-star guys? 5-star problems.
Right, because Duke and Kentucky's programs and the money in them has really suffered from the 5-star babysitting one. And no. What happens is when you LSU it.
Weren't you just making an Ed Martin joke a little earlier?
Well, yeah, but
the last time the 5-star guys were on campus.
Fine. All right, he's 5 for 5. Norm is having a career night tonight. If I say one more dumb thing, he's going to hit for the cycle because he's got 2 homers, and the only thing missing is a triple, and we got to watch him chug around the bases for that. But fine, you're right. I'm wrong again. I hate when this happens. I think it's a great hire.
I do too.
And as a hater, I think it's a great hire.
I want to see who he surrounds himself with, who his assistant coaches will be, and. I want to see who that is, because he doesn't have college coaching experience.
Right, and that's the only drawback. But I know I heard an interview with Chris Webber, and he said those guys are in his corner and supportive of him. So
I'm not saying it's going to be a problem. I just think it's something that we should watch.
Like there would with anything else.
Because relating to an NBA player, relating to a college player are 2 different things.
Well, not at the higher level of college players. That's the NBA pre-draft.
Oh, it's the NBA minor league when you start getting those kind of guys.
Uh-oh. Norm down 0-2 in his 6th at bat. It's an 0-2 count.
No,
yes.
No, they are different.
At the upper, I don't think so. At the upper level,
dealing with an 18-year-old kid is a lot different than dealing with a
19-year-old kid.
Right, because everybody's 1 and out. I don't think so.
Well, no, but the top of the draft is a whole bunch of 1 or 2 and dones.
Yeah, but they're generally not the star of the team. Not for a while. It's not like the Bird and Magic days where they would walk in and have a shot at being the MVP.
I feel like he pulled his hands in and we're hoping this goes over the second baseman's head into the, into right center.
Well, you just got to do some show prep once in a while.
And I'm tired.
I'm not saying that he can't be.
I'm tired of the Warriors. Can't stand it anymore.
Well, that's about the only series anybody's watching. Because the NBA numbers, especially in the East,
Okay, but they don't count Canadian
with Toronto
ratings.
and Milwaukee.
They don't count Canadian ratings, A. And as long as Tim Horton commercials are running during that series, it might still be a value add.
Yeah, but that's like saying people in the East don't watch Golden State. I mean,
Well, and it's getting to be a problem when Adam Silver came out and said, we're going to talk about moving those West Coast start times back so that the East Coast can see them.
I think the biggest problem with the East Finals is you have Toronto in there, and then everyone has to say whatever the Greek freak's name is 77 times, and it doesn't. No matter how many times you practice it doesn't roll off the tongue.
Well, and Kawhi Leonard is really good, but he doesn't move the needle at all on the basketball court. I mean,
Well, because he's not flashy. He actually plays basketball.
Right.
He plays multifaceted. He plays defense, which I thought.
and he passes the ball and
Good. I mean, it's almost like a guy like that being in the Big 12 in football. It's like, wait a minute, what are you doing? There can't be interceptions in the Big 12. We have to have these gaudy passing numbers. You're banned, shunned. You're graduated to a different league now. That's it. You have to go play in the all-defense league.
done.
I truly am sick of the Warriors.
The ratings numbers would not back that up as you being typical of an NBA fan, because that's the series that everybody's watching. Everybody's watching Golden State, and there's not very many people watching anything else. So they're watching the stars, like they always do in the NBA. They watch the
Golden
stars.
State has 10 days off.
Name me all the stars on the Toronto Raptors.
Kawhi Leonard in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hey, we ran out of time tonight because I can't name another.
Not saying I could either. So, but then again, I'm not watching that series either.
I can name a bunch of guys in Portland who play like the guys used to play in Toronto, where they wilt when the bright lights shine.
Stanley Cup, that's doing okay, but you got some bigger teams in the mix. So you might have, by the time this airs, Boston and St. Louis. St. Louis already clinched. So
Well, and hockey's never drawn the
that'll
big numbers.
do
so-
wonderful ratings
Yeah, but
wise.
they'd be happy with mediocre numbers.
Exactly.
You can look those up actually. All right, Saturday Night Live coming your way next. Powerbomb Wrestling 2 a.m. You can't catch it, DVR it. You can't do it. Go to my YouTube channel and subscribe, and whenever anything gets posted, you'll get a message, and you can watch it on any device. All right, we're done. We're out of here. It's the Front Row Roundtable show presented by Ralphie's. We'll see you next time.